like to call to order the Westmont Village Board meeting of May 5th, 2022 to order at 6 o'clock p.m. and ask Clerk Simsky for roll call.
Mayor Gunther?
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Barker?
Here.
Trustee Brady?
Yeah, here.
Trustee Guzzo?
Here.
Trustee Little?
Here.
Trustee Nero?
Here.
Trustee Simonovich is absent tonight. Attorney Zimonak?
Here.
And Village Manager May.
Here. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone today. We got after the open forum, we've got some awards to give out through the police department, and that'll be exciting. But first, we're going to do the open forum. I do have some requests. The first one I received is from Frank Trout. He wants to discuss the Memorial Day activities.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite the entire village board, along with all of our residents, to our Memorial Day parade on the 30th. It starts at Naperville and Cass and heads south on Cass Avenue to Memorial Park. At Memorial Park, we will honor Marcel Levesque, a longtime resident of Westmont, World War II veteran, and anyway, he will be there for that presentation on Memorial Day. So we invite you all, Memorial Day Parade, this Memorial Day on the 30th, starting at 10:30 at Naperville and Cass, and proceeding to the Memorial Park, which is located just east of Holy Trinity Church.
And it's newly done. It's beautiful with the eagle, so.
And we have the beautiful eagle that we erected this last year for Jim Robinson, who is a Medal of Honor recipient. He was killed in action in World War in Vietnam. And anyway, it would be good to see you all there.
Good.
Thank you.
I'll be there. Thanks, Frank. I have a couple other open forum, and this one's from Christine Bedelow. If I said that right, you can come up to the, from, again, you state your name again and your address, so I may.
Hello, Christine Bedelow. My address is 947 Indian Boundary Drive in Westmont. And I would like to talk about the Oprah Hills proposed development. I have some serious concerns about this. I was at the last meeting where there were a ton of people who wanted to give voice and talk to the developer, who happened to cancel a couple of hours prior. Yet there was no rescheduled meeting for that, for the public to openly discuss with the developer. So that's my first contention. Secondly, the Westmont comprehensive plan calls for open space. This development will not only add 1,336 more people, but will take away all of that open space. Secondly, has there been a school study of the impact of 500 more students to the academic school districts? And then I'm also very concerned that the zoning committee has already reviewed this and recommended no additional multifamily condensed housing. And, you know, when I think about government, I think about it as internal controls, checks and balances. And if you have a part of the government that is already saying this may not be a good idea, why are we not considering that and the impact that that will have on the community? So those are my most important points, is that I would like to see more discussion about this with community involvement in open forum like this. That would be it.
We're waiting for it too.
Awesome.
Lynn Evans, also about the new development proposal.
Yes. I'm a Westmont taxpayer. I live at Royal Hills Club in Oak Brook, and I'm a retired teacher with 27 years experience, working with the kids, obviously, so I'm focusing my comments on them.
I'm extremely worried about the huge influx of children to our tiny Westmont school district, and it's projected to be a big one. What will happen when our kids are getting all these new people enrolled in their schools? What will the class size have to be? Will our schools be physically big enough and large enough to accommodate all of them? And if not, will we have to build more schools and hire more teachers, and therefore pay more taxes? In the interim, what do we do about the kids moving in? What happens to our currently enrolled kids? Most likely they'll be in those crowded classrooms waiting for longer amounts of time to be heard or have their questions addressed. Most likely there'll be not enough room for them to participate properly, safely during gym and recess. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Kids need space, kids need one-on-one help. It will also be impossible for the teachers to provide that one-on-one help with each student, and that's the most proven educational good strategy that there is. The closer you are to your students and the more time you spend one-on-one, the better off we're all. The teachers are going to be torn about what to do. Liken the situation to like ER triage. Those who need the most care are served before the other ones who are waiting, who also have problems and could get worse while they wait. At least the ER stays open for 24 hours a day, not schools. How many children will have their needs met and how many will not? What about the space for kids to play? The current plan shows very little of that type of space. Our children need to have a place to have run and to jump and to develop all their physical skills and strengths and simply to be kids. Little children especially need it to be close to their home so the parents can see them and interact with them. Because of this, I must address how this green space is being used. The former village boards and the village various committees have a plan in place to protect that small amount of green space that's left in our community. They were ahead of their time and spent countless hours working on a blueprint offering how that land was supposed to be used. Are we just throwing that conscientious work away? And if so, why are we doing that? Did you notice that the most sought-after communities are keeping their precious green space in mind when they decide how to best utilize their land? We are talking about throwing ours away. We need to consider carefully this issue because once the green space is gone, it's gone. And current and future generations will hold us accountable and pay the price for the decisions we make now. It's imperative that each and every one of the residents of Westmont be considered before momentous choices such as this are made. The village board must remember that though they may have divergent personal interests, they were elected to represent their constituents. We cannot put the gains of one entity above the good of the majority.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have one other open forum, John Kirkwood. There we go, I got it right. State your address.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Kirkwood. I live at 3525 Cass Court in the Royal Hills. I've lived there for the last 14 years. Thank you for the opportunity to make a few brief comments. I wanted to address the issue of the Willow Creek Golf Course development. I would ask that the board carefully review the issue of rental versus owner-occupied units. Rental, which is in the current proposal, has a potential negative impact on the community. Residents are temporary, they move on. There's a lack of commitment to the community and to the village. There's no roots or a sense of community in rental communities, and my wife and I have lived in rental communities in our many, many years of marriage. And this will affect the balance of that area, the fabric and the character and stability, both for residents here in Westmont at the north end and our neighbors in Saddlebrook and Midwest Club who have been at several of our meetings. I think it's an important issue for the board to take under consideration. There are many other issues, and it's complicated. There are 4 stakeholders that are here. There's the hotel and the investors in the hotel. The hotel has changed hands a couple of times. I don't know how their financial stability, whether they're growing and prospering or just holding on by their fingertips, but they now have an opportunity to convert part of their property into cash for whatever reason they want to use it. We have Core Spaces, a development company that has a reputation around the country for developing student housing, multiple units, and they have been very successful at doing that. Their business plan includes building the properties, bringing investors in, and maintaining a minority interest for Core Spaces, and the management contract to run them. Now, they're the developer here. They are beginning to look at residential developments, but they are a stakeholder as well. They're entitled to develop, to make a profit or whatever, as is the hotel. The village is a stakeholder. There's potential tax revenue here. And whether that is involved with the rental unit or the owner-occupied unit, it's still tax revenue for the village. And lastly, there are the neighbors that are affected. I'm one, there are others, there are many that are not here tonight, and we are stakeholders. We want to maintain the stability of the area. Our building is right next to Oak Brook Heights, the apartment complex that's just to the south of us. We live in peace and harmony with the neighbors there, but by bringing in another 300 or whatever the number is, it changes the character of the area. So that I ask that you consider that in your deliberations to try to come up with a solution to this that meets the need of each of the four stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to close open forum, and just one quick comment. And we've had this happen a number of times. Developers can ask to be pulled off an agenda. And we thought he'd be here tonight, but they're not ready. And so whenever they're ready, it'll be posted, and I'll probably have more than 3 or 4 commenting at that point, because we haven't even looked at it yet or got him before us. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to discuss more about this when he's on the agenda. We don't even know now if he's going to be here 2 weeks from now. But that's their right to ask to be postponed and come back to us. So unfortunately, it was 2 hours before or whatever it was, but they wanted it, and we've had other developers do that too, where we continue it. So you'll know about it, and then you have an opportunity for those that are here for that to discuss it again in the open forum. So thank you. This is for me, anytime we can recognize any of our first responders, police, fire, I think it's very important for us, and our chief is going to do that this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, and I will echo that sentiment. There is nothing that brings me more joy as your police chief to recognize the hard work of our first responders, particularly our police department and the members of the entire staff. So before I begin, I do have an introduction. With me is Sandra Strobel, who's seated down to my right. And hopefully online or watching from on YouTube is Mr. Logan Shepard, who I will be referring to here in a few moments. So I'd like to focus everyone's attention on an incident that happened on January 4th, 2022, roughly around midnight. We had down at one of our apartment complexes near 63rd and Cass an aggravated carjacking in which the victim was shot in the leg. The victim suffered a gunshot wound to the left leg, which fractured the victim's femur and struck the femoral artery. The juvenile suspect was quickly apprehended and charged as an adult for aggravated vehicular hijacking with a firearm and aggravated battery involving the discharge of a firearm. Both charges are Class X felonies, punishable by 6 to 30 years in prison for each charge. So that was the incident. In a nutshell, I want to talk about the specific actions of the officers on scene that day. First of all, I'd like to recognize Officer Dan Rooney. So Officer Rooney's role, he arrived on scene and saw the victim being attended to by Mr. Shepard. Officer Rooney assessed the scene and cut away the victim's pant leg to better assess the gunshot wounds. Officer Rooney observed the entry wound was no longer actively bleeding and applied direct pressure to the exit wound until Westmont paramedics arrived. While Officer Rooney was treating the victim, he gathered a description of the offender and broadcast the information to responding units. So in a nutshell, Officer Rooney multitasked. He was thrust into a medical situation. Fortunately, Officer Rooney's background is as a EMT from his previous life with Bolingbrook. So if any of the officers to show up, he absolutely was the correct one with the most amount of medical knowledge for first aid treatment. Mr. Logan Shepard, and this is slightly out of order, and I apologize, but Mr. Shepard had just arrived home and observed the victim lying on the ground in a pool of blood and screaming for help. Mr. Shepard removed his t-shirt and sweatshirt and applied pressure to the victim's gunshot wound until officers arrived. While Mr. Shepard was applying pressure to the wound, he called 911 and relayed the information to the dispatcher. So, Mr. Shepard was the first on scene. He was a good Samaritan. He was a neighbor of Sandra and took immediate action. And that can't be overstated by a member of the community stepping forward in a time of need to help Sandra out. So between Officer Rooney and Mr. Shepard, they absolutely saved Sandra's life, and we're here to recognize them for that action. Furthermore, former Oprah police officer Ryan White was the one that heard the dispatch, and he ultimately found the vehicle, chased it down I-290 until it crashed, and then apprehended the suspect, brought him back to the station, and we subsequently charged him. So we will also like to recognize former Oprah police officer Ryan White. So that's that in a nutshell. But we also have one other recognition, and that's Detective Jeremy Durst. So in an unprecedented way, that week we had 3 extremely high-risk, low frequency, very low frequency, but very high-risk investigations that Detective Durst happened to be, they all wound up on his desk. So for a week's time, probably long after that, he did not rest because he was the lead investigator on 3 very high-profile but low-frequency. It's just a lot of averages weren't working in our favor that week. But Detective Durst worked tirelessly. Any one of these 3 investigations would have been enough for one person to handle. Having 3 in a week was unbelievable. So this was one of the 3, and we want to also recognize Detective Durst for his actions. So if I can have Officer Rooney and Detective Durst approach, I will read the awards. Officer Daniel Rooney, on January 4th, 2022, Officer Rooney responded to a call of an aggravated vehicular hijacking in which the victim was severely wounded by a gunshot to the leg. Officer Rooney immediately began direct pressure to the wound until the paramedics arrived on scene. Detective Durst, between December 29, 2021 and January 4th, 2022, Detective Durst led 3 separate investigations involving serious weapons offenses that led to the arrest of 5 suspects with no less than 10 Class X felonies. So again, out of those 3 cases, I think we arrested 5 out of 6 suspects, which is unbelievable based on what we were working with. So Detective Durst, if you can see that.
Westmont Police, thank you to the Oprah Police, thank you to Logan Shepard, thank you to Officer Ronnie Rooney and Officer Durst, and what everybody did. Very fast response, they're under 5 minutes. Wasn't for them to be dead. Thank you so much, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
And obviously, nothing happens without the paramedics. I mean, we had to complete the circuit for getting Sandra from where she was in the parking lot to the hospital, and certainly special recognition goes to the Westmont Fire Department and their emergency medical staff for taking over first aid and transporting. That's advanced life support, I believe. That's definitely an ALS to the hospital. So if we can just get a quick picture.
Yeah.
Mayor, Trustee Guzzo.
Thank you, Chief. It's always an honor to have them recognized at one of our meetings. We'll move on to reports. The first report is mine. I think Commander Trout already mentioned the Memorial Day Parade. It kicks off at 10:30, and it'll conclude with the ceremony at Veterans Memorial Park. Last Thursday, we had our Community Awards dinner hosted by the Chamber. I want to congratulate all the event winners and nominees. Press release along with many photos and the event video have been posted on the village website. I think that's one of the first times we had about 125, 30 people plus, Larry? 150 gather for the past several years. So it was well attended and everybody did a great job. Westmont Junior High is reaching out and Building Bridges Award. Congratulations to Westmont Junior High School and other community organizations, partners for their involvement in creating volunteer opportunities for our local students. And the traditional barbecue that Jim Addington always organized and ran for years has been modified this year. It'll be up at Ty Warner Park on Memorial Weekend, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's called the Backyard Barbecue and Spring Fling. It's done away with the professional competitors. We're doing more of entertainment. We had it modified last year, but there'll be entertainment, there'll be music, we'll have crafters, there'll be the carnival. So that'll be traditionally on Memorial Weekend this year at Ty Warner Park. And that's all I have. Clerk Simsky.
Okay, I just have a couple announcements. Village offices will be closed on Memorial Day. Also, recycling and garbage will not be picked up on Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th, which will delay pickups by one day for the entire week. So everybody be prepared for the next day
Yeah.
than you usually give it. And that's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, Trustee Simonovich is not here. I don't know if Trustee Guzzo would like to get reports since she's the co-chair of the police.
I would be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did have the honor of hosting the Public Safety Committee meeting for the police department today, so I want to say thank you. I'm going to give a brief recap of this meeting. We talked about staffing updates, and as everyone or some of us may know, they did a drug take back with the DEA last Saturday. There was 210 pounds of unwanted prescription drugs that was taken back, so that was a great turnout. Police squad car night, they did discuss that, is June 9th, 5 to 9 downtown with their cruising night, so mark that on your calendar. Everybody come on out for that. The weather will be perfect. The Citizens Police Academy and the Junior Citizens Police Academy once again will be held this year. You can find more information and sign up on the village website with the police department. In addition to the police department website, there is a section for compliments and complaints, so please check that out. And then the chief also discussed the merit task force update. The next Police Public Safety Committee meeting will be July 28th, 4:30 here in the Village Hall. Now, switching hats.
Yeah, go to the-
All right, our next Fire Public Safety Committee meeting will be June 2nd here at 4:30 at the Village Hall. Everyone is invited to attend. And then there is also going to be a car fit clinic for seniors. It's May 21st from 8 to 10:30 at the Johannic Fire Station, 6015 South Cass Avenue. Seniors can come and have a free vehicle safety inspection and also have their cars adjusted so that they fit them properly. And then one more thing I want to say again, and I saw this the other day, I want to remind everybody, when you see sirens and lights, please pull to the right. They may be on the way to someone you know, and I just want to make everyone aware of it. It's getting warmer outside. I know it's been nice, but they've got their sirens and lights on for a reason. So please pull over and give them the courtesy that they need so that they can get to where they're going safely. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
It's a great
Thank you.
reminder. Thank you. Trustee Brady.
Thank you, Mayor. The next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is scheduled for May 11th, and they will be reviewing a proposed restaurant and a drive-through facility at 80 West 63rd Street, which is in the Market Center development. Also, the third annual Westmont Senior Spring Expo is Friday, May 6th, from 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. at the Westmont Park District. Restaurants will be, refreshments will be served, and a Secretary of State mobile drive unit will be available. Also, Sunday, May 15th, is Peace Officer Memorial Day. All U.S. flags are requested to be at half-staff. This is a proclamation by the President of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's tomorrow, the Senior Expo.
Yep.
Right. All right, I'll move over here to Trustee Nero.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. Our next Public Works Committee meeting is June 16th, right here at Village Hall at 4:30. And if you haven't heard, we're going to have our Public Works Open House. It's going to be May 21st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I encourage everybody to come. If you didn't come last year, check out the new facility. Please make it to stop by and say hi. Tons of activities, facility tours, forestry demonstration, tree species, identifying tree species contest, fire hydrant demos, bee observations, lots of giveaways, raffles. I remember seeing residents and kids walking out with their hands full. So it's a good lot of fun for the kids. They have a blast, play a lot of games, and maybe this year you can sign a plow like they did last year. So who knows? It was a lot of fun. Next big thing is the Lincoln Street parking lot. Landscaping was planted yesterday. There's some pictures flying around the internet. Looks real nice. Thanks to Mike and the team for getting that done. The project continues to move forward and will be available for public use by summer. So hopefully summer's still coming and we could finally get that parking lot opened up. It's right on Lincoln Street, north of Burlington and south of Irving. So hopefully a nice added parking that the downtown sorely needs. Glad to see that happening. And last but certainly not least, in the theme of public safety, as I'm sure a lot of us know, we've had, I guess you could call it a microburst or tornado that touched down at Oprah Hills and kind of went northeast a little bit. But it was great to see the fire department out at Oprah Hills with chainsaws and helping clean up. So I forget how many students were happened to be there for a function to get all these kids in there, and they were just going above and beyond. And we heard a lot about police tonight, but you know, that's right in the thick of the storm, get in there on demand and helping with their staff, kind of down and dirty, doing some stuff. Maybe it's not part of their job, but these guys don't even think about that. They safety first, and it's good to see. And you know, it was from the top down. The chief was out there doing it with chainsaw in his hands, and you don't see that in every town. So just wanted to highlight it. I remember driving by and seeing the whole crowd out there. So it was a good cleanup crew, and we're lucky to have these guys, both police and fire. So that's all I have. Thank you,
And
sir.
I do have to compliment the fire department. They worked extremely hard with one of our businesses in order to open it up for a high school prom.
That's what it
I believe
was,
was
yeah,
there
high
with
school prom.
700 people. So, thank you.
And we're not talking little twigs. These were
no.
these are big trees. Man.
Yeah, fortunate no one got hurt, but a lot of wind damage. So, Trustee Little.
Thank you, Mayor. The next Administration Finance Committee meeting will be May the 19th at 4:30 in Village Hall. Also wanted to let everybody know that the water and garbage rates have changed as of May 1st. The garbage rates, yard waste, and garbage stickers have increased. Please see the village website for specific information. We have the Race to the Flag, which is happening on Memorial Day, or the Sunday before Memorial Day, sorry, the 29th. And it's going to be held at Ty Warner Park. And you can go to racetotheflag.org to sign up to run or volunteer or just come out and enjoy the activities of the day. For community events, we are coming up on summer events, and our community events will be all cruising nights on Thursday nights through June, July, and August, the 4th of July, the Taste of Westmont, and a whole lot more can be found online at westmontevents.com. And then last, our next community business window mural theme will be summer fun, and businesses can sign up via the Westmont Special Events website at westmontevents.com. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Barker.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to recap the, Monday, we had a Environmental Improvement Committee meeting, and at that meeting, we had a speaker from the International Dark Skies Association. He's our local representative, to help educate that committee on dark skies and light pollution, and there's more following there. We also were lucky enough to have one of our members as our liaison with the schools, and she was able to get Nathan Chamberlain from the high school to come in and talk about what the kids are doing as far as their environment. And you know, the greatest thing that he said is he wants to partner with the village and get involved in the community and bring those young people with them. And that's very, very exciting news to have him participate and also have him bring those young people in to help out. The Environmental Improvement Committee is going to be at 3 different street fair events this summer. And the first topic that we are going to present down there is we're going to give the residents that stop by an idea of the invasive plants that are in their backyards or in their front yards or whatever. And we'll have some paper information there, but we'll actually have some of these plants there so people learn how to identify them and then how to get rid of them responsibly rather than spraying them with toxic chemicals. But we'll get a lot of good advice and information to our residents to deal with those things. And then as far as other environmental improvement efforts, we are looking for volunteers for the river sweep that is run through the county. You can sign up on their website for that event. And then storm drain stenciling is also, the river sweep is May 21st, storm drain stenciling is June 4th, so it's kind of back-to-back events where we rely on volunteers to help the community clean up our waterways and then also mark these storm drains so that people don't drop or dump toxic chemicals into it. It's all a volunteer effort with help from our public works. And we've been doing that for years. And then Westmont First is going to meet on the 16th at 6 p.m. here in Village Hall. And we are working on that community mural program assignment. And we continue to discuss that with an arts initiative. And then we'll have a full update on the agenda for the Administration Finance Committee meeting coming up in the future. So that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you. And I know that the No Mow Till Mother's Day, which was under your committee, I see signs everywhere. Mother's Day.
236, Mayor.
230 some, even though I didn't put a sign, I couldn't mow, it's too wet, so I'm participating in that. Moving on, does anybody have any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd ask Manager May to please read.
The consent agenda this evening begins with Village Board minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the Village Board meeting held April 21st, 2022. Next is Finance Ordinance Number 1. We're in a new fiscal year, so the numbering starts over. Finance Ordinance Number 1 in the aggregate amount of $1,039,358.02. There are 4 purchase orders, and I just qualify them all. These are all open purchase orders. They are purchase orders that we do at the beginning of the year to encumber the entire amount for the year for whatever the particular item was, and then we make payments off that during the year. First purchase order is Clark Environmental. This is for mosquito abatement. The total amount is $80,600. Next is Imperial Service Systems Incorporated. This is the office, this is the custodial work at 4 buildings for the Village of Westmont. Mead Incorporated, $75,000. They do both the underground utility locating for us with respect to streetlights as well as the repairs on the streetlight network itself. Bell Fuels, $250,000, and this is for bulk motor fuel purchase for village purposes. Those were all annual amounts. The total of those purchase orders is $454,600. Even brings the total of the purchase orders with Finance Ordinance Number 1 to $1,493,958.02. We have 4 proclamations. Board to consider a proclamation to declare May 11 through 16, 2022 as Police Week in the Village of Westmont. Board to consider a proclamation to declare May 15 through 21, 2022 as Public Works Week in Village of Westmont. Board to consider a proclamation to declare May 16 through 22 as Dementia Action Week in the Village of Westmont. And proclamation, board to consider a proclamation to declare May 15 through 21, 2022 as Emergency Medical Services Week in the Village of Westmont. The last item on the consent agenda is a community event, 2022 Race to the Flag 5K. Board to consider an ordinance approving the following requests for the 2022 Race to the Flag 5K to be held on May 29th, 2022. It includes community events permit, including the street closures, as well as a live amplified sound permit. That completes the consent
Do I
agenda.
have a motion to approve as presented?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, Nero?
Motion been made and second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move on to new business A, Fire and Police Commission appointment. The board to consider an ordinance approving Mayor Gunter's appointment to the Board of Fire and Police Commission. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, Guzzo.
And that vacancy is because one of our individuals who's been there 10 years, 15, I knew it was more than that, but Vince is leaving in June. So we were fortunate to have ex-chief Tom Mulhern to step in and represent from the police department because Vince was also from the police department. So Tom, if you'd like to come up, you told me you had something to say, but short.
Maybe you should vote on it first and see if he's got the same.
I know you're all, well, I just want to thank the mayor and the board for your confidence in me for this position. It means a lot. I'm very honored to be in this position here today. I also would like to say that I have very big shoes to fill with Vince leaving. It's going to be very, very hard to fill his shoes. And I'm really looking forward to working with Chairman Cavanda. And I will not embarrass her by getting her last name wrong, but I only know her as Commissioner Stella. So we know each other for a long time, but I just want to say thank you for this, and I'm really looking forward to working with the commission.
We better
That's
vote
it.
on this.
Please.
Roll call, please.
Mayor, did
Trust-
the background check come back
It's-
yet?
Somehow, a lot of things are Xed out, but, no, he's fine. Go ahead, roll call.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Motion that passes. We'll look forward to you working. And Vince, I'm sure you'll be back for a 15-year unless you want to say something now. Just don't let Tom represent you when you come back. So. Yes, and Attorney Zemanek has a comment.
The ordinance says, or the item on the agenda says this is approval of an ordinance, but it just needs to be a motion, not an ordinance. So, Ginny, if you could correct that in the minutes, because there is no ordinance for this item.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, but it was approved. So moving on to new business B, site and landscape approval, 413 North Cass Avenue. Board to consider ordinance approving a request from Walter, I just know him as Walter, Vigilovich, and Rose Development Corporation for a site and landscape plan at 413 North Cass Avenue to construct a 2-unit, single-family, semi-detached dwelling in the R4 General Resident District. And Director Sylvester.
Mr. Mayor and trustees, the item before you is before you because the property where this proposal is being proposed is zoned R4. And quick zoning lesson here, our zoning code says that any proposed development in commercial districts, manufacturing districts, office districts, and in the R4 multifamily zoning district has to go through a process called site and landscape plan review and approval. So that's why this item is before you. Typically, if this were in a residential zone, well, it is zoned residential. If this were in a single-family zone, a single-family house would not come before you. This is basically a duplex in an R4 zoning district, so that's why it went through planning and zoning and is here before you tonight. It is a pretty straightforward proposal. This is the site where many of us will remember was the college painting business. That building was razed. Walter is with us here tonight. I also call him Walter, to propose a duplex on the site. It did go through planning and zoning. They did recommend approval. And if you have any specific questions about either the process or the project, please let me know. And Walter is also here if you have any questions for him.
I've got a question. It states here that was a residence. I don't think that was a residence several years. That was a store. It was a college painters used that. And also, I know some young men that work for that, they were working part-time. They were cleaning brushes in the ground. So I strongly suggest a soil test be made in several places before that building goes up. And it's a very narrow lot to have residential, in my opinion. I'm not a builder, but, and that building was not really taken care of properly. It would look like a slum building. It was an embarrassment to Westmont to see that a few years ago. Finally, it was torn down. Thank you.
I'd be happy to address the second item regarding the size of the lot and whatnot. I don't have anything to say about the soil issue, although Walter's here, maybe if he wants to address that comment. It is a narrow lot. We did struggle with the review for the proposal on this site. I would like to thank Walter for his patience and cooperation. It took us a long time, probably longer than it should have, to review his proposal and make sure it meets all of the village's standards, and it does. There are no variances being requested. The bottom line, though, is per the rules that the village has, Walter can build a 2-unit residential building on this site. So yes, it's narrow, but it doesn't need any variances, and he is entitled to build what he is
When
proposing.
does he expect to start this?
If you want to ask Mr.
You gonna start it this year?
Walter, you get to come, Walter, come on up to the podium.
Mayor, I got a couple too.
Yeah.
From Ross Development, we are probably going to be starting this year, yes. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get final permits approval, but we have submitted most of the things. If there's anything else, we will comply and wait for a permit to be issued.
Trustee Barker's got a question.
Yeah, I just have a couple of comments, you know, and looking at this, I didn't print out the drawings in the packet and everything, but I looked at them and I was reading the notes and things. So I'm a little concerned because it's a tight lot about the density issues that we seem to be having, you know, lately. A piece of property and we're trying to pack all this stuff in here, and I understand profitability and I understand that it fits per ordinance or whatever. But, you know, there's things that I'm questioning is, I couldn't tell from the north side of the building to the lot line what the distance was. Is that standard, and do you have that dimension? It wasn't on the drawing. And, you know.
I think it's 5 feet. I think it's 5.
I know there was testimony that it was sufficient width to allow any utility or drainage easement that was necessary between the building and the property line.
So I read 5 feet in the note in there, and I'm going like, so 5 feet is pretty tight. But I also said, you know, it said because of the drainage that was needed, there weren't gonna be any plantings on that north side. And then I looked at the south side of the facade there, looks fine. The west side looks fine, the east side looks fine. What I did, if I was a neighbor and I looked at the north side of that building, I would say, while it's practical because it's siding and everything, it's ugly. It's new and it's nice, but it's ugly because it's plain and it's not as attractive as the other side. So when we're building something next to our neighbor, that while it's the back of the house, it's not the back of the house that the neighbors see, and it's something that he's gonna see every day and gonna live with. The people that live there are never gonna go to the back of that property. But the guy next door, and in fairness to the neighbor, I'd go, hey, can we dial that up a little bit? Is there a cost thing there? Is it, you buy beige, gray, and red and make it look like something, or whatever, it's just an aesthetic thing. But it is awful close to the neighbor. And then I also read that there was no stormwater requirement necessary for that site. And I didn't get that because it seems like it's a big lot, but it seemed like a lot of lot coverage. And residential is this much.
Right.
What about commercial, or in this case, a duplex or apartment building or whatever?
Sure.
What guides that? And I was surprised to learn that there was no stormwater.
There are stormwater requirements, but they're being satisfied with something called best management practices, BMPs. I know our engineer reviewed it. We did discuss whether detention would be required or
Right.
not. Detention is a a more substantial improvement than BMPs. And the engineer, when he reviewed the county's ordinances and our own local stormwater management ordinances, determined that all of the requirements could be met with BMPs.
So that goes, does that mean it goes to a neighborhood location?
Well, even if there was a physical stormwater detention requirement, he has a full detention basin right behind the lot.
Right.
You know,
right.
and it's ours, so, I mean, it's available if it were needed, but
Right.
it's not a calculated need.
That's part of the plan, that it's there.
So a possibly helpful analogy would be if there's a vacant lot in town and someone wants to build a new single-family home on it, that would not be required to go through this process and would never appear before you. We would issue a building permit for it. That new single-family home would have to have BMPs, but that new single-family home would not have to have a detention basin. So this is a similar situation. What might cause some confusion, and this is a very complex subject, is if we split a very wide lot into 2 new lots and single-family homes are proposed on them, then detention is required. But this did not involve a subdivision, this did not involve a lot split, this was an existing lot with a new structure. And again, for all these reasons, the village engineer reviewed all the requirements and said that BMPs would satisfy the requirements.
Yeah, and I knew we were I knew we were reviewing it, I just wanted to understand it.
Sure.
And then, the percentage of lot coverage, that's my last point. Do you have an idea how much of the ground is actually covered? Is it 50% or 80 or?
Well, the lot is approximately 51 something by almost 300, so
Yeah.
15,000 square feet. The building coverage is only like 3,000 square feet total for the whole building.
Okay.
Which is like 20% coverage.
20%?
So
The
20,
hard surface
25%,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
And all of these questions are appropriate, and they emphasize the fact that it's a narrow lot, but per a strict enforcement or administration of the zoning rules we have,
Right.
what he's proposing is allowed.
Right, and I did watch planning and zoning, and, and your point was, it conforms to what we expect in this community, and I got that, and then, it's what we expect is one thing, but what we'd like is, something else, and I felt for the neighbor on the north side, looking at the back of your beautiful building.
We were involved in numerous occasions for 15 years, for over 17 years, trying to talk to the neighbor to the north.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
To a joint situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think somebody should look at his house, present condition, and what his house is maintaining it also,
Right.
So I think it's gonna look much better than what's there now and what was there before.
Yeah.
We meet all the requirements. I don't want to say anything else, but we tried our best.
Yeah.
We tried to offer to sell it to him, tried to offer for him to buy it, for us to buy him out, and we tried to also incorporate the property to the south. Also, there was another thing, when this property was bought, this was totally different zoning. The zoning was changed without us being ever advised of it.
Yeah.
This was like 20 years ago, and that's a fact. So it put us in a very bad situation, to be honest. We're gonna lose money on this proposition, and we carried it for so long, but it's a complicated situation.
Yeah.
And we try to comply with every single situation, not to go through the variances or anything like that, because we just want to try to keep it simple, and we think it's gonna work really nice. I think the building is gonna look nice when it's done. I don't know if, I can't recall exactly, but whether we are allowed to have, I think we're allowed to have landscaping on the north side of the property, if my memory is correct. And I think our plan, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But,
well, just make
gotta
it
be
nice,
low,
right?
Low and stuff like that, and, 5 feet sounds, it is narrow.
Yeah.
But it's big enough to service whatever is need to be serviced, and everything's gonna be flowing properly as far as the storm, so it's gonna be approved by
I
the
would-
city engineer, so.
I always go like, if I was gonna have to look at it, what would I want it to look like?
I
right?
agree, I
Thank you,
understand
sir.
Trustee Brady.
Well, maybe you answered the question. I want to understand what you said. Are the neighbors on the north and the south aware that this building is going up? Have you talked to
Should
these
be.
people?
There was a sign there, they're aware of it, yes.
What's on the south, the landscaping?
South side, no, the south side is the Medical office.
A medical office? Okay.
Yes, medical office and dental office.
Okay, the north side is the condos or something, apartments?
No, north side is not condos. The building to the north, and then this condos is building is like a single-family home, which is presently has been used for a long time as a accountant's office.
Okay, and they're aware of that? This
Yes,
building's going up?
absolutely.
They would have received written notice before the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing that the hearing was taking place, plus a sign was placed on the property advising everyone that there is a public hearing on that
So make
property.
sure they know what's going on. We don't be caught on a hook here saying that the village board approved this and they didn't know about it. Okay.
You know what, I do need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Nero.
Second, Little.
Motion been made and second to approve. Anybody else have any questions or comments that are here?
I wanted to ask,
Yes.
Trustee Brady mentioned possible soil contamination. Will that be
There's
looked
no
into?
soil contamination there. What Trustee Brady has a concern about soil tests, and I think we can do soil tests, but it's not required. It's our risk. We know there's a basement. There was a basement there, and the soil is sound, and we built a condo building a couple doors away. There was no soil issues. So I don't think there's any soil issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we do the demolition on the property.
And I think there's a difference between suitability of the soil for construction versus, I think what Trustee Brady was talking about, which is potential contamination from turpentine being placed on the property. And that's the purview of the EPA, and, a good developer would check into that if it's a concern. And sometimes just by digging up the soil, if there's a smell, you'd know if there's something there.
And the disposal of any
This was
excess.
mostly used as their office, also
caught,
for painting
yeah.
corpse. This was mostly used for their office. They didn't really store anything. I was there many times in the building because they were renting for us. We never increased their rents and anything. They just were using it for an office purposes. There was no storage involved there on the property, inside the building whatsoever.
They didn't store any paint at a property? Any equipment?
No, it was inspected all the time. It was yearly inspected in the last 10 years by the fire department. And that would be against, I would say, I would assume it would be against the fire code. But not that I know of. That was strictly an office, their office.
And again, we haven't seen Walter for a while, but Rose Builders, I think the condo's a couple doors
Yes.
north you built.
Yes,
And numerous other projects in
Yes.
town, so we know what work he does.
For 25 years, I would say maybe 30 I've been building here.
Okay.
Any other comments? I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We look
Thank you very
forward to
much.
the shovel in the ground. New business C, McGrath Auto Body, 725 Pasquinelli Drive. Board to consider an ordinance approving a request from McGrath Auto Body Shop and 720 Kingery LLC for special use permit amendment to perform painting, body and fender work, in addition to other authorized dealership activities in the B2 General Business District at 725 Pasquinelli Drive. Director Sylvester.
Mr. Mayor and trustees, this is an interesting proposal that's in front of you. Many of you will recall this site as the former Chevy dealership. Back in 2006, the village approved a special use permit for a dealership use here, including some sales, some light detailing, and inventory storage. The request that's before you tonight is to modify that approval that was granted back in 2006 to also allow some body and paint work at this site, which is usually considered to be a more intensive use of a property. Some additional equipment is needed for air handling to make sure there aren't fumes and other impacts on the neighbors. Planning and Zoning Commission did review this at a public hearing. They did recommend approval. If you have specific questions about the business, a representative for the business is here, Tom, as well as the architect.
And I just would point out, this was discussed at Planning and Zoning Commission about having some special conditions on any approval. Those special conditions have been incorporated into the ordinance. I just want to let the applicant know, just confirming what was discussed at the public hearing. It's that the parking of vehicles awaiting service or pickup and parking of employee vehicles shall comply with the, it was kind of a rough site plan that you provided that showed the parking. You're going to restore the landscaping that was shown on the 2006 landscaping plan, which either was never put in or was put in and has since disappeared, and continually maintain and replace as necessary such landscaping. The other special conditions from the 2006 special use ordinance shall remain in full force and effect, and there will be no outside storage or inside storage of any third-party or personal vehicles such as cars, RVs, boats. That was an issue on the property for a while where RVs and such were parked there. And if these conditions are violated, the village can pursue administrative adjudication. Also, the village board would have the right to conduct a public hearing with notice to the applicant and potentially revoke this amendment to the special use.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, Nero.
Motion been made in second. Comments? Question?
Does the fire department make an inspection for a type of business like this where they're gonna do auto repair and also painting, you know, for combustion and so forth? Can you explain it to me, Chief?
Sure, Trustee Brady. So obviously this has sat vacant for quite some time. We've had numerous issues internally with, pipes breaking and water. The applicants are aware that, they're going to use a spray booth, so they're going to have
That's
to
what I'm
make
saying,
sure
spray
that
booth,
they
yeah.
have the proper spray booth that is certified and will be certified by the Fire Prevention Bureau. They know that if they are going to store chemicals or any such, it has to be in an approved container, meaning a big yellow box that is fireproof. So the applicants are well aware of that.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that building sprinkled currently?
I'm not sure what's happened. I can't really speak to that because I'm not sure what's happened since all the damage. I really haven't been up there, but maybe Tom knows.
Yeah, I do. It is partially sprinkled on the, what was the old show floor area. When we redid the building, and we used it for a service center for a while we were adding on to our Ogden Avenue facility, and then it was kind of like Life After Man, if you've seen that show. So we did put all new roofs on it and redid the entire parking lot. We sprinkled the show floor area. The shop is not sprinkled at this point, I don't believe. But anyway, yeah, it's a great facility, great building. Again, it used to be a body shop. Right. We're partnering with a franchise who will help us conduct business. And we also use a company called ComplyNet at all of our facilities to help keep us compliant, environmentally and safety-wise. And we do keep a very clean facility. So we will do that there as well. And appreciate the opportunity.
Are you gonna do repair for other auto dealers? I mean, let's say my car broke. How would I know you were there? Are you gonna advertise it?
Well, currently, I mentioned it in the other meeting, we have a representative from the body shop that has facilities in Franklin Park in Chicago.
I see.
So usually a customer that has one of our cars, if they know we can help them, will drive into us or have it towed into us. And then currently it's going out of town. Again, we used to use Westmont Body Works quite a bit, but when AutoNation bought them, they really can't handle the throughput anymore, and they want to concentrate on their own customers first, which I understand. But we'd like to keep our customers local and help them in
You know yourself, you're in a hidden area. You go down 83 and you just see a building there. It could have been a dealer, you don't know what it is. And we come down past Nilly, you're so far away, so.
Well, the good news today is Google.
Advertisement to keep,
Yeah, the good news today is Google. Anybody can find us usually with Google, and of course, we will shuttle it down ourselves. If you were a customer, came into our dealership, we would take it,
I see.
sign it in there and bring it to the body shop. So, location isn't all it used to be.
Exactly, right, exactly.
That's
Thank
good
you.
for a body shop, though. Yeah, by homes, and it's a kind of a tucked away nice, so
Yeah.
good use of the property.
Exactly, I think so
To
too.
Trustee Guzzo's answer then is the body shop will have to be sprinkled. It's been vacant for so long. The showroom is redone. I know there was pipes that burst in there, but the body shop will now have to be redone in accordance with the paint booths and stuff that go in there.
Trustee Barker.
Yeah, two questions. One for the chief. Do you have the drive aisles and stuff that you need to get trucks in there?
We do. We've already looked at that, and we're,
Yeah.
as long as we don't park big campers and buses,
Well, and that's,
boats and stuff,
that's,
we're good.
that's my
In
second question.
Chevrolet, they pulled full tractor trailers.
So the violations that you were talking about, was that under this ownership, or was that the previous owner?
Under this ownership, as I understand it, and I think they're in the back of the property, and
So that's
I
gonna,
don't have any
so that's gonna
personal
get
knowledge.
cleaned up?
Yep.
That's
We had
gonna-
a previous general manager who's now out of town, no longer with us, who did everybody a lot of favors, you know, so.
Yeah, well, and it's, you know, you got a great dealership, hopefully you got a great business up there, but it stays looking like a great business. It looks more like a dealership than a body shop.
No question.
And then if the chief can get in there, so we, you know, everybody starts out with great promises and they paint lines on the ground and everything, and then they just park the cars wherever the hell they want. And that's what we don't want or can't have.
I completely understand, and if you see our dealerships on Ogden Avenue,
Yep.
when we're using the building, you will see something similar on Pasquanilla.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I can promise you, community development and fire department look at that when inspections and prior to the business opening, when we give them certificate of occupancy, so we would certainly work with their staff to.
You're gonna take your Lexus up there?
I wish I had one, sir.
Okay.
And they are thorough, believe me. They're really-
Good, good, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Question?
Thank you.
If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Brady.
Yes. Motion passes. Are you back up there now?
Mr. Mayor, if there's time, could I just take 1 minute to explain a process we use that people may or may not be aware of when we receive applications? Because these are all good questions. When we receive a proposal like this one, McGrath wants to use a former dealership building for auto repair. Community development takes that application in and we distribute it to all the village departments. So it goes to Public Works, they'll look at, you know, water service, does the water service need to be upsized? Fire Prevention Bureau looks at it, are sprinklers required? Police will look at it. Building within community development looks at it. Zoning within community development looks at it. And that's all during what we call the entitlement phase. Entitlements are zoning. Anything that goes through Planning and Zoning Commission are entitlements. After that process is done, only then can someone come in and apply for building permits. Building permits don't come through you guys, but then the same process happens all over again, but now we're getting down into the nitty-gritty where we're looking at construction and you know, sprinkler head locations, et cetera. So I didn't know if you guys were aware of that process. I thought this would be a good time to explain that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New business D, resolution for maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code. Board to consider Illinois Department of Transportation resolution for the village's 2022 MFT resurfacing project number BLR 14220-2022. And I don't know if Director Ramsey or Manager May can handle this.
Mr. Ramsey's on.
Director Ramsey.
Thank you, Mayor. We're requesting to appropriate the sum of $1,600,000 for the 2022 MST resurfacing project from the village allotment of motor fuel tax. Staff has worked hard reviewing the streets that are on the current list. We've come up with a list. We've proposed it to IDOT. They are currently reviewing it. We're waiting for their permit to come back. What we do and how we determine the roads that we pick are we do a study every 5 years, and the last study was done in 2020, which ranks the roads that are in the best shape and the roads that are in the worst shape, and we go off that ranking to determine which roads we're going to do. We also determine on how often those roads are used. There's a lot of different variants that we go by to figure out exactly which roads are going to go on that list. But this year we worked really hard evaluating each one of those roads that are currently going to be on the list. And I think, we're going to meet most of the needs. It's also driven by complaints too. So we've made a list of which roads get the most complaints, also the roads that are on that list, and also staff recommendation on which roads they think need to be done, need to be replaced or resurfaced. So it's quite in-depth organization that we go through to come up with the list that we have every year. So it's not just we just pick roads that we want. There's a lot involved to pick these roads. So after all of that, our staff, we picked the list and we do recommend approval of this MFT resolutions for tonight.
Mayor?
Yes, Manager Manning.
I only wanted to elaborate and, appreciating everything that Mike just described, but one comment about, places that get the most complaints and the list as well. Complaining doesn't get your street on the list. It gets it inspected differently and again to see how it would fit inside the program. So it's not a contest to see how many phone calls can come in about, any particular block.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Nero.
Second, Little?
Motion made and second to approve. Comments?
Just a quick question. Are we going to publish the list and share it? I know it's always the
Good
big question, but
Yeah, once it goes through and it's approved and we've got the motor fuel tax authorization, we're ready to go out to bid, that's when that would happen.
Is that a good answer, Mike?
Yes, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah, we wait until we get approval from IDOT and we make sure that the allotment of money has been allocated for this project. Once that's done, we go out to bid and we, once that's all been accomplished, then we do list it on our website.
Any other comments? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Nero.
yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business E, surplus property from the Westmont Fire Department. Board to consider ordinance declaring the following outdated and expired AEDs as surplus property. Phillips FR2 SN0203085178 2003 from the Village Hall. Second
don't
one.
need to read each
I don't need to
serial
read
number.
it? Thank you.
Just the buildings they were in, maybe.
Jeez, okay, another one at Westmont Center, and then one at the Street Department. Chief?
Exactly what you said, Mayor. Outdated, expired, end-of-life use. We no longer can get pads for them, so we're just declaring them as surplus.
What is an AED?
An automatic external defibrillator, which when somebody is in cardiac arrest, the police carry them in their police cars as they're usually first on the scene. And they will attach a pad on the front and on the back and turn the machine on, and it'll tell us if we have a viable rhythm that we can shock before fire department arrives.
When you say surplus, there's no market for old.
No.
Just toss
Just we can't even
get rid
get
of it.
pads to put them on the body anymore. So we just recently, we put here a new one last year, I believe, maybe 2 years ago. We just gave a couple to Maze Lake, as we do every couple of years in our budget. And we do have 2 in the budget that you just approved a couple weeks ago for somewhere in the village. I'm not sure what locations they go.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Little?
Second Guzzo.
Any other comments?
What's the life expectancy on these, or the,
Usually 10 to 12 years, but
Oh, okay.
everybody's in the business to make money, so they have to always change out something, and the pads are really what's the problem. Batteries are getting more and more expensive, but Lynn Drolly, who is the program director of this, she handles it for the police department, all the squad cars, all village buildings, our workout facilities, so I think we have about 32 total throughout the whole village, I believe is the number.
Hey, Chief, do we help the Park District with them too?
We
I
do.
see them like on like
Yes.
some of the parks have them.
Yep,
That's
and-
great.
and probably a few years ago, the mayor remembers that we saved a life up at, on Plaza Drive because the AED was in place. So again,
Yeah,
that
that's
cooperation and collaborative effort between all departments, including the Park District, is what helps our residents come into town.
Great.
Chief, stay there.
Sure.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Motion passes. Under miscellaneous, I've asked the chief to stay. I don't think we have an official announcement, but the accreditation has been completed. 4 days of looking through everything that you do at the fire station. So I don't know if you want to comment on that?
Thank you, Mayor. The manager
smile.
noticed I was a little more relaxed tonight after truly 4.5 grueling days. As you all know, this village is very supportive, including you as the board, the mayor and the manager, of accreditation in our village. And I am happy to announce that after 4.5 days of the assessors being here, and the manager and the mayor were part of it on Monday morning and closing yesterday afternoon, that we are being directed towards the commission in Denver, Colorado, supposedly August 16th through 18th, to go before the commission to get our 5th reaccreditation process. So Again, it's not all me that does the work. My team is a, great team that we put together. This was Jim Conley and Lynn Drowley's 5th reaccreditation, so they've been there for 25 years. But I will tell you that it is a grueling process, and this time was even worse because we went from the 8th edition in 2017 to the 10th edition. So when you miss a whole edition, it is really a grueling process. And Jim Fitzgerald, as I appointed when I made the chief to have the accreditation manager, as you all know, he was working on this, doing dual jobs in Cuba. So he did a phenomenal job, but it's not just him or myself, it's the whole team. It's Jim Conley, Kevin O'Hare, Neil Berkowitz in the Fire Prevention Bureau, Eric Blaskovich in training. These assessors were blown away with our training division and what we do to make sure we are setting our firefighters up for success and to keep them moving in the right direction. They loved our succession plan, and obviously they like something that the mayor and the manager said yesterday, as I think they told the mayor and the manager yesterday that we were moving forward, and yet I had to wait till about 8:30 this morning.
I'm not going to let him sleep last night. And again, congratulations. I think we got to meet the team and interact, but the team, there's 2 people from North Carolina, 1 from California, 1 from Pittsburgh. So they come together, they've been trained, and they do a very detailed assessment of, there's like 10 categories and there's subcategories, and I was impressed to meet them and discuss where they're at too. I learned where their department, 1 was similar to ours. So.
Right, I mean, they learn all about, it's an open book. They come in and say, hey, you're doing this right or you're doing this wrong. They take things that we're doing back to their other departments. So it's truly I can explain it as a big report card for our department. And it's a true honor, as I said today, to finally be reaccredited. Now we can relax a little bit before we go before the commission. But it's truly a very stressful 4.5 days and basically, a year, 18 months leading up to the process. So again, thank you for all your support, Mayor, Manager, and appreciate the kind words. And truly, this was one of the best assessment teams. I've been involved in the 3rd one now, and these 4 by far were the best assessors.
Very personable, and we
Very nice
shared a lot of
people.
stories. So,
yes.
Yay!
All right.
I just
Chief?
have one comment I want to make. If my father was still here, I'm sure he would be extremely proud of each and every one of you. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Chief Gunther even clapped, so
Yes.
yes. Well, congratulations again,
Thank
Chief.
you, man. Appreciate it.
Anybody else on miscellaneous? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to return Guzzo.
Second.
Anybody want to second it? Oh, Brady, Trustee Brady. Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Again, this meeting is adjourned. I want to thank everyone, and good night.